It's when it talks about enterprise governance, we can see that it's a new term. Maybe when you come into the in deep of this enterprise governance, you will also say that it's a new word, but it's not a new concept. It is there. It is moving beyond the corporate governance. We all heard about corporate governance during the Satyam scam or the Enron scam or Parma scam or WorldCom. All these cases we have heard a lot about in corporate governance. Even the government is bringing in a lot of measures to ensure the corporate governance. But the enterprise governance not stops at corporate governance. It also talks about the performance. You can, if you look at various regulations, various rules, you can find that there are a lot of penal provisions which can even put the chief executive behind bars if the company is failed at corporate governance. Ramalinga Raju is behind bars. But you take a situation where a public listed company, a public limited company which is listed in a stock exchange, is making losses consecutively for about 5 years. Is there any provision to put him behind bars? Is there any provision to keep him accountable? In fact, enterprise governance, it's a way of thinking which moves away from the checklist mentality. When you talk about corporate governance, it's all about checklist. It's all about a calendar of returns. We can prepare a calendar of return, we can prepare a checklist, and even softwares are available for that. There are a lot of things to be done, returns to be filed, accounts to be prepared, audit to be carried out, number of board meetings to be carried out, the date at which you have to send notice for a board meeting or annual general meeting or EGM, whatever it may be. But now we need to move away from the checklist mentality. If you are doing all these things correctly, and if the company is not performing well, if the company is destroying value consistently, then what is the point in keeping all this corporate governance process? So, enterprise governance means moving away from the checklist mentality, and it's all about accountability. When you talk about enterprise governance, we can put, or I will translate the enterprise governance into a single word, that is accountability. Accountability throughout the organization, from the lowest grade employee to the chief executive or the chairman of the company. And also, it takes care of the entire interest of the organization. It takes care of the entire interest of the stakeholders. Maybe you can look at this framework. This is the framework of enterprise governance, which divided into two parts. One is corporate governance. Corporate governance talks about conformance. Whereas there is another part that is called business governance, which talks about the performance part. The corporate governance leads to accountability, assurance, and related things, whereas business governance must lead to value creation, resource utilization. My dear friends, why SIMA has championed this particular initiative? This has to be the concept of enterprise governance. There has to be the religion of management accountants of tomorrow. In fact, a management accountant is the most apt person to pioneer or champion the initiative of enterprise governance in the days to come. And maybe our anchor referred to a few corporate failures. Let's also look at two corporate failures. One is Enron. Infamous Enron failure. We all know about the history. It was the seventh largest company in US. So the company made substantial investments in very large projects. Some of the projects were successful, but many of them was not. And these investments in the projects resulted in very huge economic losses. And the company, their accountants, and even the auditors, they covered up the entire stuff by creative accounting and those kind of things. And let's look at another case. It's called Pamlat. It's a milk giant from Europe. Again, this company was owned by a family, and they grown well, they diversified, they went public, and again they went for aggressive expansion to US and other territories. They made a lot of acquisitions like companies like Beatrice and all those things, and the company finally resulted in liquidity crunch, and again covered up by creative accounting, the term which we use, creative accounting. And let's analyze these two cases. Maybe you can put Satyam also in the backdrop. We can analyze these two cases. What is the root cause? If you type the word failure of corporate governance in Google, you will get the list of all these things, and you will get a lot of essays about failure of corporate governance in Enron and Parmalat or even Satyam. But let us ask one question. What is the root cause? Is it bad corporate governance or bad business governance? We all can drill down to the core issue, and we can find out that the core issue was the business governance, the bad business governance, the failure in the business which got masked up by the corporate governance. Even when you look back in the Satyam case, we can see that they got the Golden Peacock Award for corporate governance. But what about the business governance? Again, that was also failure of business governance, which got masked up by the corporate governance. So, corporate governance, we have to move a further step to business enterprise governance by taking this business governance also into the process, also into the accountability scenario. And let's look at the difference between or a comparison between corporate governance and enterprise governance. A good corporate governance can prevent failures, but it does not guarantee success. The success has to come from the best business governance, and it has to be shaped, it has to be formulated, and it has to be taken to the next levels on to ensure the sustainability of the success which got from the best business governance. We need corporate governance. So first, there has to be best business governance, then corporate governance has to fall in place, and effective strategy execution is essential for success. Business governance talks about strategy implementation, strategy execution, strategic options, and also about the strategic risk management. Governance we already talked about, it encapsulates both business and corporate. And let's have a very brief look at the definition. This definition has brought by ISACA, Information Systems Audit and Control Foundation. Then I have given underline to the important words. When you talk about enterprise governance, the role is not really limited to the board. It is the role is to the board, is to the executive management, and it's all about the strategic direction of the organization. It's about the objectives are to be achieved. It's about the risks are to be managed. And finally, we should ensure that the resources are used responsibly. Responsibly means resources has to be used optimally. It should give us very good results. And again, a comparison between corporate governance and enterprise governance. We can see that corporate governance used to be the area for board of directors, company secretary, the chairman is there, non-executive directors or independent directors, whoever it may be. And there is an audit committee to ensure the corporate governance. Resources and remuneration committees are there. Risk management process is there. Internal audit is there. All these things are meant to ensure the corporate governance. It leads to accountability, assurance, audit. And if you talk about business governance, we should think about strategic planning and alignment of the organization. And we should think about the strategic decision making, strategic risk management, and about the scorecards.